Hi, I'm back again today with another excerpt from my book, Finding Yoyu. And if you've been following along with me, then you know in the last section I was talking about a TV show that we were in and how we got to go back and visit my in-laws at their home in Hiroshima. I actually found the video itself and tried to upload it to my channel, but of course there were some copyright issues with some of the music, so I took it down. And I do have it though, so if any of you are really super interested in seeing it, let me know, leave a comment below or send me an email and I'll get you a link so that you can watch it. It's all in Japanese, but it's kind of fun to see what we looked like back in 2007 and to see a really genki or healthy, happy Otosan and Okasan. So anyway, today we're going to jump in and it's going to be at a point in the spring of 2014, and this is still a few months before my in-laws come to live with us. And it's, well, instead of explaining, let me just read to you what I've got for this next section. Okay, here we go. We used to visit Hiroshima 2 to 3 times a year. Once at the beginning of May for a string of national holidays coined Golden Week, then again in the middle of August for Obon, a time when ancestors are called back and honored, and a final visit at New Year's when everyone in the family gathered to enjoy traditional foods and a visit to the shrine. I always had mixed feelings about going to Hiroshima. I loved it there and craved the green. I was raised in the western part of Washington state where evergreen forests and snow-capped mountains are taken for granted. Arriving at the Kobayashi home, surrounded by the Hiba Mountains and the smell of the cedar trees, always made me feel like my soul had found its way home. Getting there, however, was grueling. Even though Japan is well known for its modern transportation, including bullet trains, getting to Akira's hometown is an all-day event because it's in such a remote area of Hiroshima. I'm not kidding when I say I can fly back to the US from Tokyo faster than I can get from Tokyo to Akira's hometown. It's either a 13-plus hour drive, or you have to leave early in the morning and take 5 trains at just the right time, or you won't be able to make it all the way. For the last leg, there are only 2 trains a day. It was during one of the spring visits in 2014 that we learned from Okasan that her doctor was recommending surgery. My mother-in-law had rheumatoid arthritis, which made it increasingly difficult to walk. Her doctor also diagnosed her with stenosis. He believed that surgery would help Okasan significantly with the stenosis and give her back some mobility. The hope was that it would also prevent her from becoming incontinent. Understandably, though she had some reservations, that last bit about incontinence was the deciding factor for Okasan. Akira and I weren't planning to visit Hiroshima again until late summer, but after hearing about the potential surgery, we rearranged our schedules and came back 3 weeks later in June so we could meet with Okasan's surgeon and set a date for the procedure. We were hoping to schedule the surgery for August when the university would be on summer break so that we could be there to give Okasan our full support. To our surprise, the surgeon wanted to move forward with the surgery immediately. At 82, and with rheumatoid arthritis, I knew surgery was a risk and that Okasan's recovery might take longer than usual. Even so, both Akira and his brother were supportive of the surgery, and we all encouraged Okasan to go for it. Over the last year, we had all noticed how she rarely ventured away from her chair in front of the TV, even during fishing season. Okasan was never into outdoor sports like hiking and thought we were foolish whenever we talked about hiking in the Hiba Mountains. Fishing, on the other hand, had become one of her obsessions. The river on the other side of the rice fields in front of the house had kogi, also known as gogi, a type of char. Okasan used to spend hours sitting on the bank fishing near a crop of bamboo trees. Even her surgeon knew that making the trek across the road and around the rice field to the river bank was Okasan's post-surgery goal. There wasn't anything stopping Okasan from having surgery immediately, except that she was concerned about leaving Otosan. Without her, he would be alone unless you counted the wild boar and crows that frequented the property. I figured her concern was only about meals, because Otosan was certainly capable of taking care of himself otherwise. He was a super resourceful guy and at 87 was still driving, grocery shopping, and working the fields, but he rarely set foot in the kitchen. At first, I thought maybe my mother-in-law was being overprotective. Surely people would keep an eye on Otosan and make sure he was eating. Even though Kobayashi is one of the top 10 Japanese surnames, there was only one Kobayashi in their hometown, and Otosan was well known. Otosan himself said he would be just fine on his own. However, after thinking about their situation more carefully, we decided Otosan couldn't be counted on to take care of himself, the house, and provide Okasan with any support while she was in the hospital. Okasan's cousin, Michan, was a retired nurse and lived a few miles away. Okasan regularly confided in and called her for help. Michan would never think of complaining, but we worried because she had her own children, husband, and mother to think about. It wouldn't be right if we let Okasan and Otosan continue to depend on Michan for extra support. Truth be told, since both Akira and his brother lived hours away, we had already been relying on Michan to be our eyes and ears. Asking her to visit and advocate for Okasan during the surgery would be too much. Clearly, one of us needed to stay for the upcoming surgery instead. Akira had to get back to the university. He had already canceled his Tuesday classes so that we could meet the surgeon. He couldn't cancel his Thursday classes. Besides, he was leaving on a business trip to the US the following Saturday. I had my computer with me, so I stayed instead, and Okasan had surgery a few days later. While Okasan began recovering, I began discovering that her concern over leaving her husband alone was about more than just meals. Okay, that's all I have for today. And this visit that I took to Hiroshima for that surgery was really only for a few weeks, and it was the beginning which led into the end, where we needed to have them come and live with us permanently. But I'm still working out some of the kinks with the introduction. That's you've heard all the bits and pieces, and I'm now kind of rearranging some things, especially from this experience talking with all of you and sharing the story and some of the feedback that's been coming my way. And I really appreciate it. You know, this story is about caring for somebody who has Alzheimer's. It's also a little bit later about caring for somebody who has cancer. Um, but the part about the Alzheimer's is really important to me because we missed a lot of the early signs, and I regret that. I wish we had been more aware earlier, and that we could have been more of a support to my mother-in-law much earlier, and we weren't. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to share this story before it's published, because there are a lot of things that happen along the way that I hope will help some of you who might be in the same kind of situation, whether you've realized that your loved one has Alzheimer's or not yet, or maybe you're in the middle of caring for them right now and you just need to know that there's somebody else out there in the world who is having or has had a similar experience. So if you know anybody else who might have an experience with Alzheimer's or is helping them, helping somebody, pass this along. Let them know about the videos that I'm sharing because I hope to help people. I want you to know you're not alone. I'll be back next week with the next section.